The big hook with it is that there's a monster, one monster. It's not like a monster team.
Maps are kind of built where there's areas where Titans can go, and it's going to be, a little sketchy as a pilot to be out there. You got to be careful. There's areas where only pilots can go and the Titans can't get to.
So you could farm grunts.
Yeah, that's
which is
one of my big points.
Would that be jungling in this game?
No.
Okay.
No. You're pushing a lane.
Greek.
Like Ryan Stevens said, I want to make a website where MOBAs don't exist. Okay, so that's why I'm doing this.
How relevant do you think this game is?
For fans of retro, I think it's totally relevant to you. Donkey Kong Country Returns, I think, is better than any of the new Super Mario games.
You start a Double Fine game, and within 5 minutes, you're like, yep, I'm in love with this, and I don't want to stop playing.
I mean, that's nice to hear. I mean, that's a very important thing, I think. I think all developers, you should, when you play one of their games, you should feel like this could only have been made by this developer.
We're very proud of you.
I wasn't really impressed by Evolve. I mean, seeing the gameplay and talking to a few people, I don't know. I played a lot of Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, but there's just something about it that just doesn't strike a chord with me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the big hook with it is that there's a monster, one monster. It's not like a monster team, or it is a monster team, but there's only one monster on the team, and he does everything. And what he does, he's like wrecks the players. They're trying to track him over a large map and hunt him down.
So is the main monster, is that a human controlled monster, or is it AI controlled?
No, you are the monster. I was the monster. I became the monster. So you start out on the map and you have a very brief period of time to move around a little bit and get away from the starting area where the players will spawn and then start hunting you down. And if you move around normally, you'll make footprints, which they kind of show up in the players. It picks it out with a little, graphic, and you can say footprints here. If you run into a group of birds, they'll be like, they'll show a little computer data like, okay, monster last spotted here, essentially, right? So you feel like they're about to come after you, and it was a little scary the first time. The second time it was different. But
so the primary objective is to hunt, I guess, right? Like that.
If you're the human team, you're like, there's a big ass monster out there, and we need to go and kill it with our weapons and class-based strategies.
So yeah, I mean, I guess that's the biggest difference. Left 4 Dead, it was survive and get from point A to point B, but this is more or less find the objective, which is the monster, and kill it.
Yeah, and for the monster, you want to either you wipe out the other team and get them, they're all dead at once, you win. Otherwise, if there's anyone left, a dropship will come in and reinforce them. When you evolve, the game's title is Evolve. When you're the monster, you evolve to level 3 by eating enough animals in the environment, which will actually attack players. So it's kind of, and if you're a small enough monster and they're a big enough, wildlife, they will attack you. So you want to, eat, get big, and at level 3, they're like, okay, there's a timer, there's a generator somewhere on the map, and if you can kill the generator, it'll let loose 12 scientists. If you murder all the scientists, you can win that way. If the other team is just not, if they're not committed to murdering you, and it doesn't end like that, then the monster has a way to do that.
Do you have to play against another human? Like, is there any way to play against AI soldiers or an AI monster?
This is the one game mode that they showed, and they did have AI bots that would come in, like if a player fell off the network, which happened a couple of times, it would be replaced by an AI character, and then if another player came in, they could join and take over that character. So there is AI. I don't know if I assume that they would, throw in some AI for the monster if the guy got disconnected. Otherwise, it's like your game is kind of over, right? If the monster's just going to sit there and die. But yeah, it's certainly, really multiplayer-focused game.
It seems like as the hunters, you would want to work together to use your skills to kind of track down the monster. But my question is, you said you had multiple ways to victory as the monster. You played a couple of times. What was the most successful thing for you? Like, did you try to isolate them and pick them off one by one? Or did you try to go after the generator and the scientist? Like, what was the most success that you found?
Right. Yeah, I feel like we'll get the flavor of the monster experience first before we get into the
Flavor of
the class dynamics and the multiple. Basically, the classes are like a character type, and there are different individual characters within that type. Honestly, it reminded me a tiny bit of like League of Legends or something with champions that fulfill these roles, and you jump in and you have the same job to do, but you have different tools. As the monster, though, at first I was like, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I'm like, how strong am I at level 1? Maybe not that strong. So the first thing I tried to do is like run off and eat some things. The guys were on me pretty quickly, so at first I was retreating a lot. And the developer was playing the trapper role, which I think was a really effective one for someone who knows what they're doing, because they can hit you with a harpoon that kind of holds you in place, so you're trying to run and climb on something, and they'll grab you with a harpoon and be like, nope, and you're like, whoa, and so then you have to turn around and attack the tether that's holding on to you. It can also put up a force barrier, which is, it isolates a pretty wide area. So if he tosses this kind of grenade, it puts up a barrier, and then you're stuck in there with those guys.
I'm assuming the guys can run in and out of it, but you can't? Or is everybody trapped in there?
Usually the teams kind of stick together and it does cover a wide area, so I didn't see anyone trapped on the outside. I assumed that maybe, whoever's in there is in there.
I mean, that's very different from Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead, you get 15 feet away from your group, it's over,
Right.
No, and then at that point it becomes just leave him,
Yeah, exactly.
he's dead,
Right.
just keep going.
Get to the safe
But I
house.
kind of like that. Some of my favorite Left 4 Dead memories were when one guy would win.
Right.
We were all dead, and the credits would say, like, in loving memory of...
Right, but with this, it sounds like they're taking the moments that made that fun and making that into just a little subsection of the experience for this. Like, I guess towards the end, you say that there's like a drop ship that comes if you're playing as the hunters.
There's always, the dropship reinforces the hunters. When you die, you get put on a timer, so you have to sit out for a couple of minutes. If your homies don't all wipe, the thing comes in and then reinforces with, the extra dude. It drops the guy off again.
So the end game is either the monster kills everyone.
The monster you can win at any time if you can just wipe them out.
Right.
And for the guys, they pretty much need to take down the monster.
Okay, so it's one of the that's how the game is won or
it's
lost.
all about death. But the Left 4 Dead parallels, even though it does feel a lot different, but you can still tell, you can draw the lines. Honestly, the hunters, they feel like special infected, but with a really broad moveset.
It wasn't, you weren't just classes in Left 4 Dead, right? You were characters. Like, I
right,
fondly remember
survivors.
Ellis. I really like Coach. I like Zoe, Bill, and just like the little things in Left 4 Dead that gave it a ton of personality when they would scream at each other for pills, right? Do these feel like just classes, or do they feel like characters? Do they have some identity to them?
Well, like I said, the hunters here feel more like the special infected in that they're specialized.
Right.
But, they have some human personality. It didn't feel like it's on the level of the survivors, although, when like the trapper would put down things like, yeah, whatever you call this sensor thing going down. And I'm like, do you mean it's going up? Or, I guess that's the way. It goes down and then the coverage goes up. I don't know. But they do have a little bit, but at the same time, I can't really like pick out one character or remember one character's name other than Markov, the assault guy. And that's just because, a big, giant Russian assault dude, that's like the archetype sticks to my memory, I'm like, oh, it's a Markov. That makes sense,
I thought there was a nice through line between all the levels in Left 4 Dead.
Right.
And I wonder what kind of through line you're going to have. Like, you finish one match, and then it's like you move on to the next one. Are all four of them like, well, let's just go hunt another one? Like, in Left 4 Dead, it's like, well, now we made it here, so now we got to get there in chapter 2 out of 4, to really succeed at that whole campaign. It's like, what does a campaign look like?
Right. Who knows? Maybe it's hunting down and killing all the different monster types. It's like, we're going to rid this planet of all the giant fucking monsters. I don't know. But yeah, for campaign stuff, I wonder.
And I was very from watching the B-roll and seeing the MMO styled visuals and the heal ray.
That's kind of harsh.
And
MMO style visuals.
Elder Scrolls Online wishes it looked like that.
It's just like you got a guy.
The monster has battle damage.
Okay, it looked like Team Fortress raid encounter for me, just on its surface, just looking at it. But after hearing you talk about it and actually talk about the experiences playing as the monster, it sounds much more enjoyable and much more realized than I thought.
And I really, want to see more monsters or monsters that operate in a different way, or monsters that that get a little more sneaky. You know, this one's like the giant bruiser gorilla. You know, you have ranged attacks, you have closed attacks, you can pounce. You know, kind of the all-arounder, I guess I would imagine he is.
So we've been playing Titanfall all morning here in Los Angeles, and I'm a huge shooter fan. I have found so much of this game to be novel and innovative. What is probably the thing that you guys have brought to the table that no other shooter has so far?
For me, it's about that big versus small, the kind of duality of, you know, you can be in a Titan, you can be out of your Titan, you can, you know, sometimes you don't have a Titan, sometimes you just have it guarding or on follow. There's the maps are kind of built where there's areas where Titans can go, and it's going to be, you know, a little sketchy as a pilot to be out there. You got to be careful. There's areas where only pilots can go and the Titans can't get to. Kind of takes it to a whole nother level. And on top of that, we put in the AI, and it's kind of this mix of, you know, there's Titans, there's pilots, there's AI, and how they play really well together.
It was funny when we saw that it was going to be 6 versus 6. I think that scared a lot of people. A lot of people are like, oh man, I need 18 on 18, I need 32 on 32. But when you actually get into it, and you see the AI that populates the battlefield, and you see the pilots and then the Titans, it feels so much bigger than just 6 versus 6. Do you guys feel like you achieved what you were trying to do there?
Absolutely. I mean, for us, it wasn't, you know, we didn't set out and say it's going to be 6 versus 6. We built the game, we tested it. We had, you know, at some point we tested higher levels, at some point we tested lower, you know, and it was what felt right. So it was, you know, in all our testing, all of that, you know, we kind of settled on 6 versus 6 just feels right. It has that perfect balance of, you know, there's enough chaos there to keep you kind of interested, but it's not over the top where you're just like, you know, I can't do anything.
You spawn and you just die.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So the AI, or the grunts as they're called, I think that is probably the most interesting thing in the game. Where did the idea come from to do that? Because that is unprecedented in a first-person shooter in a multiplayer environment.
It was about that, bringing that single-player experience. It's that, you know, what makes the game more engaging and kind of brings this world to life. And some of it was, you know, the AI, some of it was, you know, the VDUs where there's a story being told and you see, you know, characters that you see over multiple missions telling you what's going on, and there's, you know, ships flying in, and there's, you know, it's an interactive battlefield. There's kind of so much going on around you, and the grunts are just part of that. And it also, you know, you can kill grunts. You know, if there's a time where things are slower, you're on the outskirts of the map, you can kill some grunts. It speeds up your timer to get your Titan called. It's, you know, so there's just so many things where it plays really well into everything that's going on in the map.
Another thing that we saw this morning that's new are burn cards. Everyone, I think, was wondering, you know, is there going to be anything like a kill streak, or is there going to be anything like a skill reward during the game? And these act a little bit differently. Can you explain what the burn cards are?
Yeah, they're more like power-ups. You know, we wanted to add something that wasn't overpowering. You know, so it's kind of you get them while you play, so that they're kind of random. You use them. You can keep different levels as you level up. You know, the number of cards you can have on you. Once you use them, it's burned. That's it. The card's gone. And when you die, the effect is gone. So there have been times where I've known people, you know, they've saved that burn card, they activate it, and oops, they died, and now it's gone, and you hear them scream, no! You know, so it's that balance of power up where you can use it at the right time, but not unbalancing and kind of over the top. So
this is great. We've had a blast here playing it today. Anything else you want to say to the fans, or?
No, we're excited and terrified to get it out there in the wild. You know, just because we want it to be perfect. We want it to be a great experience for everybody. So it's, you know, we're getting ready.
Thanks, Vince.
Oh, my pleasure.
So Rohan, I know you got to interview Vince, but we all played Titanfall. What was that, this week? Jesus Christ. It's really good. Also, it's the Source engine.
That team at Respawn, I mean, those guys know how important it is to have a very fluid, you know, the best you can do frames per second for a multiplayer competitive game. Like, they know that they have to nail that, and I think they did.
The thing I'm most interested in from kind of a core, you know, observer level is that you're fighting other people, but there are the AI characters. And I'm not a MOBA person, but I always thought what do you guys call the creeps? Or something that I always thought.
They're called minions.
Minions.
Yeah.
I always thought that was pretty interesting, and I'm curious because a lot of people play like Call of Duty or Killzone or Battlefield, and they'll feel like a fish out of water if you're trying to get into the game. And I think this adds like a real level of accessibility, because even if other people are killing you every which way, you can still hunt down these little AI dudes. And you're always going to get a Titan. I didn't realize that for a while. I thought you had to earn your Titan, like, you know, people get their kill streaks. You are guaranteed a Titan. No one's going to the match is going to last longer than 3 minutes.
We got Bravo.
Warning, threat level
Just
high.
lost Charlie.
I feel like I've beat this to death and saying this over and over, but I don't play shooters. I'm not a huge shooter guy. I'd say you're not a huge. I mean, you'll jump in, you'll play them.
I'll like get to Prestige 1 and consider that like beating a game,
right?
And then I'll walk away.
I don't even get that far, and then I know Rohan. All you do is play shooters. It's your bread and butter, right? Like you play nightly, you play a lot, and this is the first time in a long time that I've really wanted to play a shooter again. That I feel comfortable. That I feel like I'm not terrible at it. And I'm sure day one, as soon as fans at home get their hands on it, I'm going to be terrible again. So that's fine. Like I'm expecting that. But this just feels more balanced, and it feels like even when you're losing, you're still able to kind of change the tide of the game.
Well, like even the epilogue, right?
You always get a Titan. Even if you get, oh shit, your Titan's getting destroyed, you have that chance to get out of it. The other guy still has the chance to rip you out, but there's just like this constant, there's movement forward where I think a lot of shooters, it's constantly spawn, get shot, where you're not dying that much in this game.
You saw I was able to hack the other team's guys and they became our robots, but they're so easy to kill. I was wondering if I'm actually helping the other team because they're going to be able to pick up these points. But I like those little interactions that they have hidden sprinkled throughout.
And until you told me that, I had no idea you could do that. And I don't think they publicize that either. Those little niche details that people aren't really picking up on. It's really cool. And what else is in there? Like
the burn cards?
Burn card, yep.
So I guess I know you've played Magic the Gathering.
We've all played Magic the Gathering.
But there's going to be these, I mean, this is, I think, what everyone's going to know by this point, but it was interesting, especially in the beta, we were only locked to one Titan type, but we got a rarer card that let us jump into the Ogre, which was kind of a more tank, slower,
right, it was
defensive.
more heavily armored.
Yeah.
Did you actually
slower.
get to play?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
So we got Ogre gameplay, which was
nice.
Pretty cool.
I like it's not use it or lose it, but it is that kind of one-time thing. I feel like Uncharted 3 messed around with this, where you could buy those weird be spiders and stuff like that. But this feels a little more accessible. I think every match we were unlocking more burn cards and stuff.
And you get them for doing tons of random things. I know I would killed a bunch of specters, and it gave me a card for that. And
they're tied to challenges and different objectives and stuff like that. But what they do, what I think is interesting is they make people be careful. Right? You don't want to die when you have something that makes you extra powerful. And that goes completely against the kind of the mantra of respawn, get back into the action, respawn, get back into the action. And that changes the game for me, personally.
I will say my small issues, and I think a lot of these will kind of abate after you play the game a bit, I thought there was a little UI overload at certain points, especially when you're in your Titan and there's kind of your shields versus your core versus when you're especially getting into a Rock'em Sock'em fight with another Titan and there's a bunch of those life bars floating all over. And also identifying grunts versus other pilots, because a grunt's worth 1 point, a pilot's worth 4. And I'm sure with time, obviously on the mini-map they're displayed differently and stuff, but little things.
And I mean,
with time you'll pick up on it.
That's a learning curve thing. I just like that that's an option.
But it was really easy to get into the game. When the playing as the Titan is, you can't jump, but you have the slide ability. Though I think we saw a burn card that said it would give you jumping ability as a Titan, limited verticality.
Which is interesting.
It was very interesting.
And who knows if so you had the Ogre, there's the Atlas, and there's the third.
They said they're shipping it with 3.
Strider, so it's does he already have a jump ability as as the fastest
there are the abilities, like the cloak. I mean, they pack in a lot of stuff.
The pilots have abilities, the Titans have abilities.
Yeah,
it's just
in the classic Call of Duty or any other competitive multiplayer shooter, there's loadouts for both the Titans and the pilots. You can combo different, I think they're called tactical abilities, ordnance. All of these things your kit. All of these things you can equip. There's, going back to the grunt thing, there's a kit that you can equip that detects all grunts on the minimap.
So you could farm grunts.
Yeah, that's actually one of my big points.
Would that be jungling in this game?
No.
Okay.
No.
A little
You're
bit.
pushing a lane.
Greek.
So I guess, the big question that I'm constantly asked by friends and other people around the office is Titanfall worth getting an Xbox One for?
After playing the tutorial, which is a single-player tutorial, and there's the little bit of, there's like a mini horde mode at the end of the tutorial, I was like, there's AI in this game, there's all of this, and like, I wouldn't have minded a single-player campaign.
See, I think that's the elephant in the room, right? How compelling. If you're not me, who plays Call of Duty, who plays these,
right.
these competitive shooters
year
round, like if you're not me, is there enough there?
I don't know. I think there's a market for it. I think you see things like League of Legends. You see things like Left 4 Dead. I mean, Left 4 Dead didn't really have a
Source engine,
single-player campaign either. It was
you don't want to play with bots.
You don't want to play with bots. You could, but just because it was there, you don't want to do it. So I think we've seen the stats. The stats became kind of, they put them out a little bit more, especially with like how they track trophies and achievements online. Developers know that a lot of times in these type of games, people don't even get past the first single-player level.
But there's also a lot of people that are not online at all, that you can't track as much.
That's true, but I doubt how many people are buying Call of Duty or Battlefield and not getting online. I think it's a relatively small number. I think those are the people that are renting the game, right? Those are the guys that are going to go to Redbox, rent Call of Duty for the weekend, and you beat the Michael Bay-esque ridiculous action movie, which is how I've played it for the past couple of years. I don't really play multiplayer.
The potential is there to really do something great in this regard, and I think the team at Respawn, those men and women are some of the best in the business, in my opinion, and they really have the potential to do something incredible.